I've watched tennis for 50 years, longer in a way. I mean, I idolize Rod. I just said that. I got to play against Bjorn Borg.
For more than 5 decades, I've lived through the evolution of tennis, watching legends rise and fall. From Rod Laver's era to the epic rivalries of Bjorn Borg, Jimmy Connors, and Ivan Lendl, then the explosion of talent with Becker, Edberg, Agassi, and Sampras, only to be stunned again by the golden age of Roger, Rafa, and Novak. And just when it seemed impossible for the sport to reach new heights, along came a kid from Spain with lightning speed, impossible power, and a fearless smile. And in just a few short years, Carlos Alcaraz has proven himself the most complete young player the game has ever seen, inspiring a new generation to dream bigger and reminding all of us that the future of tennis is already here and it's breathtaking to watch.
This is amazing. And then to top it off, you get Roger, Rafa, and Novak.
The truth is, we all knew Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner were good, maybe even great, but no one expected them to flip the entire tennis world upside down this quickly, because from the moment they stepped onto the biggest stages, it wasn't just potential anymore. It was pure dominance. And when you look at the last year with back-to-back finals in Paris, Wimbledon, Cincinnati, and the US Open, these two haven't just announced themselves. They've made it clear they're the standard everyone else has to chase. And what makes it so thrilling is that they're doing it at an age where most players are still trying to figure out who they are. Yet, Alcaraz and Sinner are already dictating the future of tennis and leaving legends like Novak Djokovic fighting just to keep up.
The last 2-3 years, and with that damn smile that you have, I'm very jealous of that, okay?
What separates these two from everyone else isn't just their wins, it's the way they win. Because Alcaraz can create raw pace from absolutely nothing, his racket head speed and body control allow him to generate power on the slowest courts where most players get neutralized. And when you add his fearless shot making and willingness to attack the net, you get a style we haven't seen since the golden age of aggressive tennis. While Sinner brings a different kind of firepower with laser-flat ground strokes, relentless consistency, and a mindset that treats every rally like a puzzle he's determined to solve. And together, their games feel like a throwback to the past, but with a modern twist, reminding fans what true all-court tennis looks like while pushing every opponent to raise their level just to survive.
These 3 guys are finished. You're 2 quid and Novak looks human all of a sudden.
For Novak Djokovic, the reality is setting in because for so many years he was untouchable at the slams, the man who could outlast anyone in best of 5. But now, against Alcaraz and Sinner, the script has flipped. His body no longer recovers the way it once did. And we've already seen him fading late in matches, gasping for answers after only 2 or 3 sets, admitting that these younger rivals simply have too much pace, too much endurance, too much consistency for him to overcome. And what's shocking is how quickly the gap has shifted, because just 2 seasons ago, Novak was still the undisputed number 1, chasing down history. And now the conversation has changed entirely as people wonder not if he can beat them, but whether his legendary run has finally reached the breaking point.
I mean, Alcaraz, I'm sorry, but this guy's amazing. He can generate power. So when we talk about the pace of the court, it's quite slow, okay. So what that means is when the ball hits it, effectively stops you from getting any pace onto your racket. So this guy can create that pace, and not many people in the world can. His racket head speed, his strength, his body position is amazing. This kid, oh man, if he was your son, you'd be so bloody happy.
That's like the nicest thing you can say about someone.
Yeah, what a ripper. Mate, I want to have tears talking about him. He is such a nice kid. Like, seriously, I cannot say enough great things about him as a player, and I hope he becomes, a lot has to go right, huh? You know, like he has to stay fit, he has to stay healthy, he has to take all his attributes to me are pointing to one of the greats.
What makes this so electrifying is that Alcaraz and Sinner aren't just beating legends, they're forcing each other to evolve at a speed we've never seen before, because every time one of them wins a big title, the other comes back stronger, studying, adapting, finding new solutions, and that's the hallmark of true greatness, the ability to not just dominate, but to reinvent under pressure. And you could see it when Sinner admitted right after a final loss that he was already thinking about how to break Alcaraz down next time, already planning the adjustments, already hungrier than ever. And that cycle of rivalry is what's driving both of them forward. Just like Federer and Nadal pushed each other 2 decades ago, except now the difference is these two are only in their early 20s. And that means we're not just witnessing a rivalry, we're witnessing the foundation of an entire new golden age for tennis.
Feels very tired after only 2 sets against Carlos at the US Open. He's coming from my body's perfect to my body's weak compared to those 2 guys because of the age.
Let's level set what the last month of Carlos Alcaraz's life has looked like, right? And if we want to get crazy and super responsible with commentary, let's go back to April, right, where he starts this run in Monte Carlo. I think he made the stat is so ridiculous. I'm going to be off by 1. Has made 9 or 10 straight finals, including a bunch of Master Series events, Monte Carlo, Rome. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. 3 majors, of which he won 2, right, and played in maybe one of the best matches that I've ever seen with my own eyeballs at Roland Garros. Wins the U.S. Open. I think it's the best that I've ever seen him play, which is saying something when you're talking about a phenom like a Carlos Alcaraz.
His number 1 strength all his career was that he never took no for an answer, and when everybody...
Carlos Alcaraz is more than just a tennis prodigy. He's the kind of player who makes the sport feel alive again. Because every time he steps on court, you get the mix of ruthless power and joyful energy, the heavy forehands that explode off the strings, the lightning footwork that covers every inch of the baseline, and then that effortless smile that reminds you he's not just competing, he's loving every second of it. And that's why fans around the world have fallen for him so quickly, because he brings back the excitement of aggressive tennis, the thrill of attacking the net, the courage to go for the impossible shot. And when you combine that with the maturity he already shows at just 21, you realize you're not just looking at a rising star, you're looking at someone destined to define the next decade of the sport. Jannik Sinner may not have the same flashy charisma as Alcaraz, but what he does have is a quiet intensity and a relentless drive that makes him just as dangerous. Because while Alcaraz dazzles with creativity, Sinner overwhelms with precision, firing flat, laser-guided ground strokes that pin opponents to the baseline, and refusing to give away even a single cheap point. And what's most impressive is his mindset, because every loss is fuel, every setback becomes an opportunity to adjust. And that's why his improvement has been so dramatic in such a short time. And now, when you watch him trade blows with Alcaraz, you don't just see a rivalry. You see 2 players with completely different styles who elevate each other every time they meet, creating matches that feel less like contests and more like previews of where tennis is headed for the next decade. What we're witnessing isn't just 2 young stars rising, it's the end of one chapter and the beginning of another, because for nearly 2 decades, men's tennis was defined by Federer, Nadal, and Djokovic, 3 giants who seemed untouchable. But Federer has retired, Nadal is nearing his farewell, and now even Djokovic, the last pillar of that golden trio, is starting to look human against the new wave. And that creates a striking contrast, because while Novak's legacy is cemented as one of the greatest of all time, the torch is clearly being passed whether he's ready or not. And Alcaraz and Sinner are seizing the moment, forcing fans, analysts, and even their fellow players to admit that the landscape has shifted, and what once felt like an era impossible to replace suddenly feels alive again, with a new set of heroes ready to carry tennis into the future. The big question now is, who else can step up? Because every era has its challengers. Yet right now, it feels like the gap between Alcaraz and Sinner and the rest of the field is enormous. With even established names struggling to keep pace, and the younger generation still trying to figure out how to break through. And while there will always be flashes of brilliance from players who catch fire for a tournament or 2, sustaining that level across slams and masters is something entirely different, something only these 2 seem capable of at the moment. And that raises the possibility that tennis may be entering a stretch of pure domination by Alcaraz and Sinner, a rivalry where finals become routine, titles are decided between them, and the rest of the tour is left scrambling for answers, which is both exciting and daunting, because it means we could be about to witness another decade-long duel that defines an entire generation of the sport. From Laver to Borg, from Sampras to Federer, from Nadal to Djokovic. Every generation of tennis has given us legends who seemed irreplaceable, yet somehow the sport always finds a way to renew itself. And now in Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, we see not just the future, but the present. Two young champions who have already proven they can carry the game forward while writing their own history. And as Novak begins to fade and the echoes of the old guard grow quieter, tennis fans are left with something priceless. The thrill of witnessing the birth of a new golden age, an age defined by fearless youth, by firepower, by passion, and by a rivalry that could dominate the sport for the next decade. And if history has taught us anything, it's that eras end, but greatness never dies. It only changes form. And right now, greatness has two names, Carlos and Jannik. And the world is watching as they take tennis into a future that feels more electrifying than ever.